In-game live game day continues, as does the Minnesota Vikings. Meltdown is nearly complete. The Detroit Lions but we'll see if they can punch it in. I want them to punch it in right now. I would really like 2 more touchdowns here in this football game. Goff just scrambled. It doesn't really get anything. They're not really, I guess the only
way. This infuriates me. He took a 5-yard loss. Just throw the ball away.
And he's outside the pocket. Right now, he could just throw it into the stands if he wanted to.
You could throw it to the hot dog vendor. I don't know. That drives me insane when quarterbacks do that. You're allowed to throw the ball away. You know you're going to run out of bounds. Just toss it. You see Pat Mahomes just go like that and get rid of it. It's just dumb.
And now this takes doesn't Gibbs can score from anywhere, but when in doubt, you could have just looked like you said. He turned a 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5 into a 3rd and 9. They could have just handed it off to Gibbs before and picked it up.
And quarterback's supposed to be the smartest players on the field. And I don't understand that at all here. Hey, I guess theoretically it cost them a first down. Now it's 4th and short.
He's up by so much. He's going for it.
You're supposed to kick the field goal here, Dan.
I know, but it's Campbell.
Dan, you're supposed to kick the field goal. He's actually going. He's insane. He's out, and I love him, by the way. He won me a lot of money Monday night when he did what he did. So I love him, but he is insane. There's no reason on planet Earth to go
you can just ice the game officially. I know, even though Darnold sucks, you could. We'll see if they actually snap the ball.
Okay, all right. Maybe he's not going to snap it. That's true. Maybe he's not.
He doesn't snap it, and Minnesota jumps.
Oh, my God.
Minnesota jumped. Detroit didn't move. It was clearly Minnesota. It was number 22.
How about replay? Replay.
It's officially on Minnesota. Minnesota. Like, seriously, the Vikings, you're like, that's just like.
You think they were going to snap it? I don't know.
Goff just made up though for his play by playing games with him. It was his little head counts and stuff. He got him the jump. All right, so is Gibbs going to finish? Listen. They score a touchdown. I need 1 more touchdown to get my in-game over 43.5 here, which I'd really take it at this point.
And you'll have plenty of time. I almost have
a better chance of a pick 6. I don't even know if they'll put Darnold back in, to be honest. They might, I might have a better chance. They might put the backup in, right, at this point, just to save his confidence or. You
would think you'd also want to build his confidence up a little bit in a garbage time score or something like that.
Touchdown. Wow. They looked like they stopped them and they just kept pushing and pushing it.
He's done that so many times for first downs. 4 touchdowns for Jahmyr Gibbs. Can anybody else get a touchdown? Anybody?
Wow. I know, huh? Just like
spread the wealth, man. Spread the wealth.
And just like that, it's 30-9. And when this game was a close game, it was 10-6 at the half. 10-6 at the half. And the Vikings, you guys had numerous opportunities to take leads and classic Vikings. Classic Vikings. I want no part. I'm not a guy, what happened last, but I don't see how the hell they're going to beat the Rams next week. Their confidence is going to be shot. They're going to be beat up. Now they got to go out to the West Coast. They're going to have to stop Nakua and Cup, and it's not the Rams and Lions are very, and Kyron Williams. They're very similar, like teams too, like with their skill sets. Like it's going to be a problem for them, as you stated with Kyron Williams as well. All right, so we got 5 minutes left in the football game. I got to hope for something here. One more. I would say, maybe Darnold can pick up some passing yards here, but he's so off the damn number. So 31-9. 31-9. We got a 22-point football game right now. In-game total happens to be 43.5. What I bet the in-game total, 43.5. So it comes down to this: 5 minutes left. Can I squeeze 1 touchdown out of a football game that's been a complete disaster? All right, George. So Chargers, let's blast through it and see what your early leans are. And you saw that I tried to predict what times all these games would be at. I came damn close. The only one I got wrong, I thought they'd put the Packers and Eagles. I thought the Packers and Eagles. Well, I thought that the Commanders Bucks and Packers and Eagles would be in different spots. I thought the Commanders-Bucks would be on Saturday night potentially, and I thought the Packers-Eagles would find its way onto a prime time slate, but I was pretty damn close actually with everything. We all knew, no shock, the Texans were up first, George. No one likes the Texans here. Even the bettors. Look, they get, division winners. You always get the first game up. And the Chargers are 3-point favorites.
I like the Chargers to win the game. All right. I think they're playing better. I think they're the better overall team. I mean, Houston just played poorly all season long. The only reason they're in the playoffs is because weaker division here. All right. So I'm going to go with the Chargers here. I don't love it. I think it's going to be a close game. I don't think Houston will split the bit here, but I think Chargers are coming in just playing better football. I just trust Justin Herbert more than I trust C.J. Stroud right now, plus all the injuries on Houston. Give me the Chargers.
The Ravens number was 7.5. It's up to 9.5 now. It just keeps climbing. It's going to hit 10. Like, nobody likes Pittsburgh. The books don't want to get hit with 7-point teasers. What are your thoughts on this one Saturday night?
We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, right? We all know the numbers between Buffalo and Pittsburgh. Generally, they're close games. I know Pittsburgh looks awful. All right. I mean, I don't know what was going on with George Pickens yesterday. Russell Wilson looks terrible. Is Justin Fields going to play some? Pittsburgh's a mess. They're one and done. They're definitely losing the game. I don't think they're going to get blown out. I'll take Pittsburgh in the points, and I'll wait because I think you're right. It's going to get up to 10, maybe 10.5. Everyone's going to bet Baltimore. But I'm going to wait. I'm just going to wait it out. Plus, hey, maybe no Zay Flowers. So that could bog this down as well here. I'll take Pittsburgh in the points, but Baltimore wins the game.
Buffalo were also 7.5 and has been moved up to 8.5 right now.
Yeah, should have jumped that one early. All right, same thing. Buffalo's going to win the game here. Bo Nix in Buffalo, first playoff game. I think this is a learning experience. I think this is one where it might not go well for Denver at all. This could be a game that gets a little bit out of hand, 28-13, something like that. I would have liked to have gotten it earlier. Give me Buffalo, and I'll lay the points. I think the Bills take care of business.
Eagles were 3-3. You know what? It was 2.5 a couple of days ago. It was on Friday. It was 2.5. The event, there were numbers up for these hypothetical playoff matchups, and it was 2.5. Now it's 4.5. The Eagles are favored by 4.5 against the visiting Packers. 4:30 on Fox next Sunday afternoon.
Okay, I guess we're going to assume that Hurts and Love are going to play, right? Apparently Love got hit in the funny bone, so he's fine. He was warming up late in the game anyway. And Hurts still has to pass concussion protocol, but I assume he will. Be really surprised he doesn't. I'm going with the Eagles here. I think still think they're the best team in the NFC. Don't feel as great about it as I once did, but I think the Eagles well rested. I do worry about getting off to a slow start, but I've seen nothing from Green Bay the past couple of weeks that makes me feel great about them. All right, I don't want to say they needed to win today, but they would have liked to have won today. You know, Washington was losing for a while. They could have avoided playing the Philadelphia Eagles in round one here. Give me the Eagles. I'll lay the points. I think once again, I think their next tough matchup might be when they play Detroit, not Minnesota.
So next Sunday night, we get the Tampa Bay Washington game. Should be a fun game. You know, listen, either one of them playoff game, fine. I knew it wasn't going to be the Bills game. In past years, sometimes I've traded spots and I've done the Bills game. But we're doing the Sunday nighter next week, which I don't mind. Gives me an opportunity to watch the Bills game. Just kick back and watch it first game of the day. But the Commanders and Bucks should be a fun football game. That really could go either way. Let's be real. I mean, I know we talk about the Bucks being able to play with anybody, but they could also lose to anybody. And the Washington Commanders are kind of an unknown quantity coming into this, but you've got a stud quarterback. You've got a coach that's been in a Super Bowl before. This is going to be a fun one, George. The Commanders are getting 3, and the total's 50.5.
Surprises the Sunday night game. Just shocked here. I'm taking the Bucks. Commanders didn't look good today. Daniels, it just looked terrible. Another rookie quarterback, we'll see. But yes, a fun game and the over.
All right, we'll wrap up with George on the other side.
There's a lot of bowl games. I love all of them. Even if you don't like bowl games, you got to love the Pop-Tarts Bowl and what it means for college football.
Who doesn't get excited for Pop-Tarts? But also, This is one of those where, Ben, I guess you could put your kids through college. Miami doesn't care about bowl games. They don't ever win those. Miami's a favorite, so you usually go take the Iowa State Cyclones. Miami doesn't play any defense whatsoever, so you automatically just bang the total.
The Early Line. Only on Sports Grid.
How do you find some of this great talent that you've brought in, who are still early in their career, might not have a ton of tape on them yet?
I've been around this business, man, for almost 20 years. So a lot of these guys will tell you that I popped into a lot of gyms, sparred, or just worked on the side, or, kind of worked out, just watching. I've always loved this sport, man. I think it's the greatest. And we want to continue to put on the next up-and-coming superstars. We know we got them.
Only on Sports Grid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on Sports Grid.
In-game live game day mercifully continues. Sam Darnold just either overthrows, underthrows, one hops it, just whatever. Now he's limping around. I'm surprised they haven't taken him out, but it's just a complete disaster. I think the Vikings are trying to get a touchdown just to feel good about things on the way out, right? To say, all right, we got to get something going, but now Sam Darnold just appeared to get injured on the last play. This game's just been a disaster for Minnesota. Before we get George out of here in the last 4 minutes of this football game, George, looking ahead right now, as far as the Super Bowl odds are concerned, and the conference odds, the Kansas City Chiefs are plus 150 to win the. And listen, I know there's a road to hell paved with good intentions of people that said that Kansas City aren't that good, but I'm going to be the next one to say, I know they don't lose. They lost, one game. They lost twice, but they, whatever. One real game, plus 150, Kansas City Chiefs. You could argue there's value with the Ravens at plus 260, or you could argue the value with the Bills at plus 260, or you can even take both, actually, and say one of these son of a bitches are knocking off the Kansas City Chiefs, and they will play them, right? They're on a collision course, right? Baltimore would play Buffalo if they both win this weekend, next weekend.
And that's a problem for both those two teams, right? Because Kansas City is almost certainly going to a championship game, all right? So that's an easier road. Baltimore and Buffalo are such good teams here. I'd like to know more about Zay Flowers, how healthy he's actually going to be with the knee sprain here. I would probably go Buffalo to beat Baltimore because of Zay here, then Baltimore, Kansas City. Buffalo, Kansas City, I'm sorry. Mahomes and Kansas City remind me of Brady and the Patriots years ago. And every year I'm like, oh, this is just not that good a team. They're not that good. They're not going to the bowl this year, and then they do every year, but I always picked against them. So I'll go Buffalo. I'll say I said Buffalo before. I'll say it again. I probably would have said Baltimore if Zay Flowers was completely healthy, to be honest. But I think they closed it up where any injury to Zay, if he's not Zay, puts Buffalo ahead of them. I'll go Buffalo, and I'm still going Philadelphia in the East. But once again, Hurts. I mean, I'd like to see him come back and be fully healthy here. We'd like to see him play a little bit today, just so I would know he's healthy.
All right, as far as the NFC is concerned, and you know what? There's all like we said. I'm bringing this stuff up right now because of the the season starting, and you basically we're going to have all week to place these bets. Right, the numbers will start to change next weekend, Kurtz, for the Super Bowl futures. So it's time. So you're going to pick the Philadelphia Eagles to come out of the the NFC.
Yeah, I just think they're the best overall team. And, we know they can run the ball, right? Assuming Hurts is healthy, they can pass the ball. And Hurts can run himself. That defense, it may be not quite as good as what it was all season long, but it's still a good defense here. I think they have a little bit of everything. Elliott actually scares me a little bit at the place kicking situation. If that's your worst problem, I think you're going to be okay here. Hey, Detroit's going to get healthier, right? And if they're going to play defense like they did tonight, I don't think they will, mind you, because I think, once again, this is more on Darnold than them. But if they can play defense at a solid level, they're a danger. After that, Gabe, I don't know who else. Minnesota looks like a fraud to me. I mean, Rams, Washington, Tampa. No, I don't see these teams making it. So I think I think Detroit and Philly are on a collision course. I'd be positive about it if it was in Philly, but it's in Detroit. Tougher game here, but I'm going to go the Eagles.
And you can't make this up. The Vikings, Justin Jefferson just fumbled the football now.
Are they going to call that a fumble? Did he make 2 steps in a football move? I'm not sure.
Oh, they're going to say incomplete, huh? Because it was definitely knocked out. He wasn't down. Yeah, they did. You know what? That was a catch. This is stupid rule, right? 3 exactly.
It's a catch.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
why do you need to make a football move for? That's idiotic.
I agree, George.
They
give you the benefit of the doubt if it's a first down if you catch it and get hit right away. Right? You don't make a step. You got stopped right away. You caught it. Boom. You're in the end zone. You catch it. Step. You know what I mean? Like, this 3-step thing is ridiculous, bro. Like, he caught that ball. Like, you know what I mean? He caught it. He turned around. He started running with it. Like, let's be real.
The NFL makes things so hard on themselves. I mean, once again, why are we going away from caught the ball 2 feet on the ground? That's a catch. Why does he need to make a football move? That makes no sense to me. It doesn't matter. This is just really ugly, this game.
I was hoping, this is painful watching Darnold try to move the ball here, isn't it, though? Like, this is just
It's almost like
terrible.
Minnesota's playing their backups. Like, they didn't care about this game. This is just disgraceful. He's 18. Did you see? He's 18 of 40. 18 of 40. It's less than 50%. This is terrible.
Like, you know what? I was almost hoping it was a fumble. I saw the big man rumbling down the field. I was like, please, run all the way.
I want to see that. What's his name yesterday for the Ravens? Remember, he had that interception? Keep running, man. Yeah. Keep running. I would have loved to have seen that.
He said the bus was out of gas. So they're going for it on a 4th and 10. There's a flag on the play. So now what?
Like
the Vikings are so. Is it going to be on Detroit? I was going to say, are you that bad that you're going for it on 4th and 10 and you can't even get the snap up? But I think George is right. I think Detroit looked frustrated. No, it's on Minnesota.
Oh my God!
You're that bad. You're at a 4th and 10 in garbage time. You're just trying to get a little confidence going, and you can't get the snap off, George.
Gee.
Delay of game on Darnold now.
And by the way, Mr. Campbell, assuming they don't get this, you don't need to play Gibbs. You probably don't need to play Goff or St. Brown, right? Your starters should be out for now. The game
I
is
need
over.
Another touchdown. Let Gibbs get 5. Let him pop another one.
God. You know,
give me a pick 6 here. I need a miracle.
League, okay?
Give me
against Gibbs. Well, the first place team has Gibbs. No more touchdowns for Gibbs.
Give me a pick 6, something, some sort of miracle, because I don't have any confidence they're going to complete anything.
I don't think he can reach anybody. He's been terrible. He's going to gets the ball up and to nobody. I mean,
he just throws it away all the time, over the middle of the field. Like
he's not giving his receivers any chance to catch the ball. This is bad. If they get the ball back, he should not play. There's just no point to it at this time.
Like, look at that pass, bro, to Naylor. Like, it wasn't even
He's
a real pass.
His back foot. He's just trying to get rid of the football and not get hit. Bad game. And by the way, if I'm the Rams, I am sending everything at Darnold next week. Put the pressure. He's throwing up his back foot.
He's going to meet Jared Verse. I'll tell you that. He's going to meet Jared Verse. All right, good stuff, George. We'll catch up with you later in the week. Thanks for stepping up.
Anytime. Good luck, everybody.
There's George Kurtz with us. He says the Buffalo Bills and the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl.
a lot of bowl games. I love all of them. Even if you don't like bowl games, you got to love the Pop-Tarts Bowl and what it means for college football.
Who doesn't get excited for Pop-Tarts? But also, this is one of those where, Ben, I guess you could put your kids through college. Miami doesn't care about bowl games. They don't ever win those. Miami's a favorite. They usually go take the Iowa State Cyclones. Miami doesn't play any defense whatsoever, so you automatically just bang the total.
The Early Line. Only on Sports Grid.
How do you find some of this great talent that you've brought in, who are still early in their career, might not have a ton of tape on them yet?
I've been around this business, man, for almost 20 years. So a lot of these guys will tell you that I popped into a lot of gyms, sparred, or just worked on the side, or, kind of worked out, just watching. I've always loved this sport, man. I think it's the greatest. And we want to continue to put on the next up-and-coming superstars. We know we got them.
Only on Sports Grid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on Sports Grid.
In-game live, game day. I am Gabriel Morency, Sports Grid Radio and Television Network, Sirius XM, Channel 159. Tom Vecchio will step up and in a couple of minutes. We got a little over 2 minutes left in this football game right now. He'll step up and in with the post-game show. I'm in nowhere's land. This is a disaster. It's been a terrible Sunday for me all day. I got punched in the mouth with the stupid games earlier in the day. I was hoping to end strong with this competitive real game that turned into just ridiculousness. The Minnesota Vikings couldn't get the ball in the end zone. Their defense played well at first, and eventually the dam broke. They've given up 21 points. That's what's really frustrating. I got an in-game over 43.5, and the Detroit Lions are giving me 31 points, and I can't win the bet. Even for the total. Congratulations, smart plays. Hey, congratulations to the people that took the Detroit Lions and just said, you know what, we're going to play the team total instead of that high number. And you barely got it, but they do get there, getting to 31. Great end to the season for the Detroit Lions. And George Kurt says the Philadelphia Eagles, and we're all, it's sort of like the episode of The Twilight Zone where the plane shows up without any passengers, and they all see different color seats. They all see different, the plane looks different to everybody. It's going to be the same thing when you look at these teams coming into the playoffs. The AFC, incredibly competitive, at the top. I don't think there's any value with Kansas City at plus 150 to win the AFC. And I do think there's value with either if you like Baltimore or Buffalo. No, I get it. One of them they're going to play each other. They both win coming up this weekend. They're going to play each other, but that also, you pick one of them and all right, there's a path. They're going to play Kansas City after, and that's that path there. And I trust Buffalo more than I trust Baltimore. I don't think it's the Bills' year every year. You know what I mean? I hope they make it to the Super Bowl every year. But I don't tell you, oh, yeah, this is the year they're going to make the Super Bowl. This year, if not now, when? That's how I feel now. This is it. Josh Allen can't play any better. Everything, the stars are aligned. Yeah, you got tough games coming up. That's the problem. You're going to have to play Denver, Baltimore, and Kansas City. But I think they can do it. I think they're better than Denver. They can beat Denver. I think the game will be in Buffalo, and it won't be easy. One thing with the Buffalo Bills, they're you can run the ball down their throat. So, like, that's their nemesis in a way, could be Baltimore. And kind of like the Dodgers, I sort of thought ahead, and I knew the Yankees were tough and the Mets and stuff, but for me, it was always about San Diego. I was like, San Diego are going to be the ones that's going to be the tough one. And I don't want to dismiss Kansas City, but I'm already sort of thinking, you know what? Buffalo and Baltimore that's the one, right? Get through Baltimore. They're going to slay the demon. They're going to finally go into KC, and they're going to score so many, they're going to make KC keep up. I really legitimately believe that the Bills, if they can get past Baltimore. So I'm going to say that the winner of Buffalo and Baltimore will go to the Super Bowl and represent the AFC. And as far as the NFC is concerned, now that the Detroit Lions have the bye week, I'm not going to get in front of this train. They're going to have the bye week. They're going to limit this. They're only going to need to win 2 football games on their home field. And at the end of the world, as we know it, might arrive with the Buffalo Bills and the Detroit Lions Super Bowl. That's, on paper, you can make a legitimate argument for it. But, and remember, I remember telling you guys about a month ago even, that the Bills to beat the Lions was 25-1 in the Super Bowl, and the Lions to beat the Bills was 26-1. Now it's like 7-1 and 8-1 range right now. We'll get in all the futures and different angles. The books are going to put up all different sort of props for the playoffs. We'll find some cool things, like we did with the lowest scoring college football playoff game with Notre Dame and Georgia at plus 125. So we had the over 43. Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings. That really was bad. I don't like singling out one player for like a lost bet or anything like that, but that really was bad from Sam Darnold tonight. And I thought that the coaching staff as well, it's not just Sam Darnold. I thought the coaching staff was absolutely pathetic tonight. The Minnesota Vikings, the decisions that they made. They could have kicked the field goals early, been in the game, and/or if you're going to go for it, try to run the ball. It was obvious that Sam Darnold was off of his game, yet they kept on running the same damn pass plays over and over. And now they're going to have to go to Los Angeles next week and play Monday Night Football against the Los Angeles Rams. We'll see you tomorrow night at 10 o'clock Eastern time for Sports Rage. But we'll be on live during the Commanders and the Bucs game next Sunday night. Tom Vecchio steps up in with the post-game show.
There's a lot of bowl games. I love all of them. Even if you don't like bowl games, you got to love the Pop-Tarts Bowl and what it means for college football.
Who doesn't get excited for Pop-Tarts? But also, this is one of those where, Ben, I guess you could put your kids through college. Miami doesn't care about bowl games. They don't ever win those. Miami's a favorite. They usually go take the Iowa State Cyclones. Miami doesn't play any defense whatsoever, so you automatically just bang the total.
The Early Line. Only on Sports Grid.
How do you find some of this great talent that you've brought in, who are still early in their career, might not have a ton of tape on them yet?
I've been around this business, man, for almost 20 years. So a lot of these guys will tell you that I popped into a lot of gyms, sparred, or just worked on the side, or, kind of worked out, just watching. I've always loved this sport, man. I think it's the greatest. And we want to continue to put on the next up-and-coming superstars. We know we got them.
Only on Sports Grid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on Sports Grid.
What's going on, and welcome to Pro Football Today, a post-game show. My name is Tom Vecchio. Sunday Night Football is over. The regular season of the NFL is finally over. The Lions coming away with the win, 31-9 over the Vikings. This game stays under the entire time. It was up at 56.5. That was just way, way too high for a divisional game, and not just a divisional game, but a game that had this much significance to end the regular season with the number one seed on the line. 56.5 was way, way too high. I spoke about it, many times throughout the day on various shows. 31-9, so 40 total points. The game stays under 56.5, and we do see, of course, the Lions cover as they were 2.5 or 3-point favorites, depending on where you got those lines. So we can recap this game. We can take an early look at the lines for the playoff matchups. Most of those are out. Obviously, we're waiting to see the Vikings-Rams matchup be posted. We can recap all of today's news. Again, 31-9 final in this one. But let's get to some quick standout performances from this one. No one really on the Vikings did anything on offense. Sam Darnold's passing line was sitting up at 293.5 pregame. He ended with 166, just 3 catches from Justin Jefferson. Aaron Jones led the way with 5 catches. He only had 30 yards. But really, the talk of this game is going to be Jahmyr Gibbs with his 4 total touchdowns, 23 carries on the ground, 139 yards. And, of course, another 5 receptions in the air. St. Brown does his thing, Laporta as well. Not a huge game from Jameson Williams, but all in all, the Lions continue to roll. Let's move on to really the rest of today. Big news. We could start off with the Patriots firing their head coach, Gerard Mayo. A lot of speculation that they are looking to get Mike Vrabel as their next head coach. We will see what that holds for them. But with the playoff odds set, and we do have the Vikings-Rams line already posted, just went up. 2.5 point spread in favor of the road Vikings and a 47.5 over-under. It is juiced slightly to the Vikings at minus 115 and juiced slightly to the under at under 47.5, which would be minus 114. As you can see, the playoff bracket there, things are set. The Chiefs have the bye on one side. The Lions have the bye on the other side, as was expected for much of the season. And this is obviously, and we have to remember that as that graphic showed there is the low seed going to, lowest remaining seed going to that team that has home field advantage. So it's not just that straight bracket. It's not just, this team wins, they will move on to play the Chiefs or the Lions. It's that low seed remaining going. So let's just jump in and take a look at these playoff lines, because immediately, the first one that I went to look to was Packers at Eagles. It's a 4.5 point spread in favor of the home Eagles. It's a 46.5 over-under, and the total is what I'm most interested in. We are a week away from these games happening. That's the first note. The second note I want to make very clear, as I've said on many shows for a number of years at this point, I'm not a meteorologist. So what I am saying is based on what I am reading and what I am seeing. There's a chance that a lot of this information may change come next Saturday. But as of now, there are reports that Philadelphia could be dealing with rain, sleet, snow, depending on what the temperature is, and heavy winds next Saturday afternoon. 4:30 start for this game. It is a 46.5 over-under. I'm already in on the under. Now, I am getting in on the under, hoping that as the week goes on, this weather will, come to fruition, and everyone will start hammering the under, and we'll get good closing line value. And there's a chance that the weather isn't as bad as it is, anticipated, and the line stays at 46.5 or 46, whatever it might be, and that it is what it is. That happens. Everyone's going to lose bets. Sometimes you're going to get a lot of closing line value. Sometimes you're not. I'm in a spot where I'm going to try and be ahead of the curve and hope that this weather does actually impact this game, and we'll see this line drop to 44, 43.5, whatever it might be. So that's the first game there. The Bills line, depending on where you got it initially, the Bills opened up, I think it was at 7.5. They moved to 8.5 already. And a lot of people are saying just very simply, and the same thing can be said about the Ravens and the Steelers. I believe that game was also 8.5. It's now up to 9.5 in favor of the Ravens. Just very clearly, the Bills are better than the Broncos. They just are. And if you got them at 7.5, congrats. it's probably not going back to 7.5. And the same thing can be said about the Ravens at 8.5. Now, this game probably, I'm going to say, doesn't move to 10. That would be a bit of a stretch, especially for a divisional matchup in the first round of the playoffs. This probably does not move to 10, considering, for the large part, how the Steelers have played the Ravens outside of this most recent game that they played just a couple of weeks ago. But I wouldn't say that game moves to 10. Would the Broncos-Bills game move back to 8 from 8.5? Maybe. That I could see happening. Now, when it comes to the Chargers and the Texans at 4:30 on Saturday to get the playoffs started, this is the classic spot for the Texans playing at 4:30 on a Saturday. This game is a 43.5 over-under. It's the lowest of any game in the first weekend of the playoffs, 43.5. It's also a 2.5-point spread, which is tied for the closest spread along with that Monday night game, Vikings at the Rams. Now, the Texans played their starters. We already have passing props out for these. We already have player props out for these. This is my first time seeing them. Wow, we have a ton for at least this Chargers-Texans game. Let's check some of these other games because, okay, so we have nothing out for, we at least have Chargers-Texans, which I'm immediately surprised about. So for the Chargers today, they actually had motivation to play and win. We know that. The Texans were locked into their 4th spot, but as I mentioned throughout the week, the Texans were going to have their starters out there for at least the beginning portion of the game because they needed to build some offensive consistency heading into the playoffs because they got shut out essentially last week or on Christmas when they only had the 2 points via the safety versus the Ravens. So the Texans needed to go out there today and at least look good on offense. And that's what they did. Nico Collins came away with a touchdown. So seeing these props for the first time, man, 231.5 for Stroud, 228.5 for Herbert. These are some pretty modest lines. Joe Mixon's at 74.5. Dobbins is at 65.5. These are some pretty modest lines. So I think immediately looking to Ladd McConkey over 70.5 receiving yards. I know Quentin Johnson had, 189 yards today, 187 yards. That's just not the role that Quentin Johnston plays. The fact that he caught as many balls as he did is just far, far more than he does on a weekly basis. So do I want to take the under on Quentin Johnston? No, but I think we should not be taking what he did this past, or did literally earlier today against the Raiders as an indication that he's going to be flying over his 39.5 prop. If we're going to be looking at any player going over his prop, it's going to be Ladd McConkey. So over 70.5 for Ladd McConkey is my first initial lean for this game. J.K. Dobbins, he got a little bit banged up with his knee today. We saw Hassan Haskins at the end of the game for the Chargers. Would love to get a note on that. But leaning on the under for Dobbins as well at 65.5. Now, when it comes to the touchdown scores, it's certainly interesting because Joe Mixon's the only one at minus money, sitting at minus 130. Everyone else is sitting at plus money. And Ladd McConkey at plus 120, that's kind of the limit of where I'd like to go. I generally don't like going that low on TDs, but given the role that McConkey plays, and I'm not really overly worried about the Texans defense at any point, I think Ladd McConkey at plus 120 and over on the yards are my initial leans on this game. So we're coming up against a break right now. We have a ton to go through with these games. We'll check in on the other games to see what's not posted. I'm seeing props already for Broncos, Bills. We can dive into that. The playoffs are here. It's the best time of the NFL season. Lions coming away with the win again on Sunday Night Football, 31-9. The game stays under. The Lions covered. They secure the number 1 seed, and the Vikings are going on the road to take on the Rams. Are 2.5-point favorites in that game. The line was just posted. We will go through everything as we're coming up against a break right here. Stay tuned here on Pro Football Today. Post-game show with myself, Tom Vecchio. We will run through everything as the playoffs are set and about to get underway next week.
We'll be right back. It's time for a Sports Grid 2-minute drill.
Time now to play a little buy or sell. The Kansas City Chiefs, George, will win their 3rd straight Super Bowl. Are you buying or selling?
They do seem to be hitting their stride. All right, they get now, 3.5 weeks off here, get everybody healthy. Mahomes, the ankle, Kelsey gets the rest. Chris Jones, who missed that game on Christmas, now he gets the rest of it. He's an extremely important part of that defense. So they're looking good. They're covering spreads now, something they weren't doing. Now they're actually winning legitimate games. That being said, that offensive line is still bad. All right, and I think there'll be teams that take advantage of that. No, I'm selling. I'm selling here.
I don't even care if I believe this or not. I'm selling. I do not want to see this. I do not want to see the Chiefs win again. This has not been a fun year watching them. They've gotten lucky. They've gotten some calls. No, please no. Jamar Chase will win the receiving triple crown this season. Yards, receptions, and touchdowns. George, you going to buy or sell this?
I'm going to sell this. I'm going to say, listen, he's great. He's going to have a lot of great numbers here, but I'm going to say no, he won't get the receiver crown. Maybe 2 out of 3. He'll just miss. He'll do a little Aaron Judge. He won't get the average.
All right, I'll play the buy. I'll play the buy card just to play something different in the end, and he was my best player in fantasy this year, so I'll say buy there. I'm going to skip ahead, Sam, to the last one, the running back here. Bucky Irving, who's been fantastic for Tampa Bay, will be a top 8 running back in drafts next season. Is this buy or sell?
Assuming everybody comes back, Godwin, Evans, Mayfield, I see no reason why they wouldn't. I'm going to buy this, Craig. I'm going to buy. I think Bucky Irving is going to be that guy. It's a heavy passing offense, lots of touchdowns. Buy.
Fantasy Sports Today, your weekend source for year-round fantasy insights, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m.
What's going on, and welcome to Pro Football Today, the post-game show. My name is Tom Vecchio. Sunday Night Football just ended 31-9 in favor of the Lions. The regular season is over. The postseason is about to get underway next weekend. We have the lines posted for all of these games for Wild Card Weekend. We just ran through Chargers at Texans. Quickly, the Vikings and Rams game was just posted. The Vikings are 2.5-point road favorites. That's a 47.5 over/under. And we have seen some props posted for some of these games. So we just ran through Chargers, Texans, like Ladd McConkey on his yards, like Ladd McConkey for a touchdown as well. Pittsburgh Steelers visiting the Ravens. Ravens 9.5-point home favorites in this one, a 46.5 over/under. There are no props posted for this game. You know, I want to say I lean on the under on this one, 46.5. It's tough. The Ravens, as we saw Saturday, not yet, I guess still yesterday. Yesterday on Saturday, the Ravens are a team that could drop 30 points on their own, and they win the game, 30-17 or whatever, and they cover the 9.5, but the game would go over at that point. Like, they can force the game to go over. Even if the Steelers barely get to, 14 points, 17 points, whatever it might be, the Ravens go out there and drop 31, 34 points, something like that, and they cause the game to go over doing, 75% of the work. So I want to say under just because it's the playoffs, especially these two teams, division rivals, and I'm not expecting anything out of the Steelers offense overall, but the Ravens are a team that a defensive touchdown, Derrick Henry breaking off an 80-yard run, as he's known to do, causes that game to go over. So ultimately might be a stay-away spot there. Bills, Broncos. This game does have props posted. Awesome to see. Packers, Eagles also has props posted. Commanders, Bucks does not. But let's get to this. Bills, Broncos. Josh Allen, 220.5. Bo Nix, 223.5. Both quarterbacks are 1.5 when it comes to touchdowns. Josh Allen is plus 100 to the over. Bo Nix is plus 154 to the over. Cortland Sutton, 64.5 receiving yards. Khalil Shakir's at 51.5. Marvin Mims at 42. Right now, the most interesting line that I'm looking at, it might be Marvin Mims at 42. He's played a pretty solid role, especially the second half of the season, especially this past few weeks. And he might be a player that needs to, add a little more into their offense because based on what, they're gonna try and take Cortland Sutton away. And one extra point I want to make about the Broncos. Let me just see if we have attempts up already for Bo Nix. Bo Nix is at 34.5 attempts, and I think that might be the best bet for me in this game. And I absolutely like the Bills to win this game, but here's the point I want to make. The Broncos won today 38-0. They completely shut out the Chiefs. They won this game wire to wire. They scored basically immediately into the game. Bo Nix led the team with 7 carries for 47 yards. Jaleel McLaughlin, 16 carries for 39 yards. Audric Estime, 12 carries for 34 yards. Javonte Williams, 5 carries for 28 yards. My point being is that even when they were up by literally several touchdowns, no one on the Broncos was able to control the ground game. And at the end of the day, Bo Nix is going to be the one that's going to have to take control of this offense. I've said this for weeks on various shows across Sports Grid. The Broncos cannot run the ball. They do not have a good running game. And this is shown very clearly today that even going up against backups from the Chiefs, when they're up by 4 touchdowns, the Broncos can't even get a running back to 50 yards. So Bo Nix playing from behind as their 8.5, what may be 9-point favorites when it's all said and done, Bo Nix is going to have to throw the ball. So over 34.5 attempts for Bo Nix might be the spot to go. It is juiced at minus 135 right now, and this is just on the FanDuel Sportsbook. I just checked DK. It's not up there, of course. Always shop for the best lines available, but Bo Nix will have to throw the ball because no one on the Broncos can run it. They simply cannot. Jaleel McLaughlin's prop is 33.5. Audric Estime is 25.5. Bo Nix is at 20.5. Bo Nix could realistically lead the Broncos yet again in rushing in a playoff game because they don't have a viable running back. So the point being, if they are forced to throw the ball, Marvin Mims will be playing a solid role in the offense as we've seen over the past few weeks. And while I think Courtland Sutton is the best player on the Denver offense, the Bills will do their best to divert extra resources on defense to take Sutton out of the game, leaving Marvin Mims, who's got tremendous speed, to break one off and just pick up yards, even if it happens to be in the fourth quarter garbage time when they're playing from behind. Next up, let's take a look at the Eagles taking on the Packers. This game, 4.5-point spread in favor of the home Eagles. It's a 46.5 over-under. Again, I said I'm already on the under for this game, expecting there to be some weather related issues and could impact things. Jalen Hurts has props posted 212.5. Jordan Love's at 226.5. Receivers, AJ Brown leading the way, 87.5. Devontae Smith, 61.5. Reed, Dobbs, Goddard are the next bunch, coming in at 50, 47.5, and 37.5. And then, of course, the ground game. Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs. Barkley's up at 101. Josh Jacobs is at 75. So I think the spot would be under 212 for Jalen Hurts. And I'm 20.5 rushing attempts for Saquon, 17.5 for Josh Jacobs. Combined with the weather, again, we're a week away. I'm expecting the weather. Things can obviously change. As I said in the previous segment, I'm not a meteorologist. This is just based on what I'm reading, what I'm seeing. Under on the passing, at least for Jalen Hurts, and potentially over on both Saquon and Josh Jacobs rushing attempts. It's 20.5 for Barkley. It's 17.5 for Jacobs. It is juiced minus 128 to the over for Josh Jacobs. But if there's weather, there could be a big ground game for both teams. And ultimately, these are teams that like to run the ball to begin with. So we're coming up against a break right now. We will continue to dive into these playoff games for Wild Card Weekend as we've all the lines set for everything. This is absolutely fantastic getting them. And some of the games already have props out this early, a week away. Absolutely awesome. Stay tuned here on Pro Football Today, the post-game show. We have one more segment after this. We will continue to run through the playoff games.
There's a lot of bowl games. I love all of them. Even if you don't like bowl games, you got to love the Pop-Tarts Bowl and what it means for college football.
Who doesn't get excited for Pop-Tarts? But also, This is one of those where, Ben, I guess you could put your kids through college. Miami doesn't care about bowl games. They don't ever win those. Miami's a favorite, so you usually go take the Iowa State Cyclones. Miami doesn't play any defense whatsoever, so you'll automatically just bang the total.
The Early Line. Only on Sports Grid.
How do you find some of this great talent that you've brought in, who are still early in their career, might not have a ton of tape on them yet?
I've been around this business, man, for almost 20 years. So a lot of these guys will tell you that I popped into a lot of gyms, sparred or just worked on the side or, kind of worked out, just watching. I've always loved this sport, man. I think it's the greatest. And we want to continue to put on the next up-and-coming superstars. We know we got them.
Only on Sports Grid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets and when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on Sports Grid.
What's going on, and welcome to Pro Football Today. Post-game show, my name is Tom Vecchio. Sunday Night Football is over. The NFL regular season is over. Lions come away with the win on the final game of the season, 31-9. They secured the number one seed overall. We are looking at the playoff games because lines are already posted. We already have props up for some of these games. We have props in the Chargers at the Texans, the Broncos at the Bills, and the Packers at the Eagles. Those are the games I'm seeing props with, at least as of now, on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Commanders, Bucks. This game does not have props posted. Bucks are 3.5-point home favorites. It's a 49.5 over-under. This game will be next Sunday night. Would not be surprised to see this line move to 3. It's 3.5 right now in favor of the Bucks. Would not be surprised to see this move to 3. Would not be surprised to see it jump up to 50. It's sitting at 49.5. I would say it's a pretty straightforward matchup of what we should be seeing. Now, for the Bucks looked pretty bad today. Let's just call it what it is. Going up against the Saints team when the Bucks were 14.5-point home favorites in a must-win game, the Bucks looked kind of bad. And they looked okay for, let's call it, a quarter? And they finally came through with a victory. So, and this is not to say that the Commanders looked amazing by any means today. Not good at all for the majority of that game. They pulled Daniels, and then Mariota comes in, and they score points, and they win, whatever. But both of these teams kind of came out sputtering. Or I should say ended the season sputtering on offense, where they just weren't getting it done. So I want to say under in this game. 50 points just seems like a bit too much. So under in this game, as usual, I'll probably be looking to take live overs if this game starts off slow. A rookie quarterback making a road playoff game. Wouldn't be surprised to see the Commanders start a little bit slow, and then they pick things up in the second half. That is what I could realistically see. So I want to see if this game moves to 50 before I bet it. I will be willing to take the Commanders, though, at plus 3.5, because I would also anticipate this line moving to 3. So obviously grabbing at that 3.5 number would be beneficial. When it comes to the last game of Wild Card Weekend, Vikings, we just saw lose, going up against the Rams, 47.5 over-under. This is a game that myself, Dave Sherapan, Adam Kaufman should be doing on Pro Football Today pregame show Monday night next week, 47.5 over-under. we have to remember that the Vikings lost to the Rams on, I forget if it was a Monday night game or a Thursday night game, whatever it was earlier in the season. There was some controversy at the end that Sam Darnold, he got his face mask touched or he got hit in the helmet, whatever it might be. There was no call on that. And, the Rams come away with the win, and that kind of jump-started their season. I think in that game, I would have to double-check the box score, but I think Justin Jefferson was held to a pretty modest game overall. Let me just double-check that. And I'm not to say that this is like a foretelling sign that we're going to see Justin Jefferson be held to another quiet game against the Rams again, but nope, he had 8 catches for 115 yards in that game. So maybe that wasn't the game I was thinking of. Regardless, I think this is a game that's going to be dominated by the wide receivers. 4 great wide receivers in this game. Look to Justin Jefferson. Look to Puka Nacua. I'm honestly going to want to have them in some type of same-game parlay where they're both going for like 70+. Now, obviously, we'll alt down the lines to get them to about 70+, wherever it might be, to get to about +100 or somewhere near even money. That's going to be the spot that I'm looking, because I will be expecting points in this game. For over 47.5 is the spot that I'll be looking. I also don't mind taking the Rams at +2.5 now. So there's a lot of games that have a lot of things to be figured out, whether it be injuries and health concerns with someone like the Eagles and Jalen Hurts, whether it be props just simply being posted, whether it be teams finding consistency or needing to find consistency. What does the market feel about that between the Bucs and the Commanders? Will that line move to 3? Will it jump up to 50? All these sorts of things. Will the Packers and the Eagles, will that total drop because of expected weather, et cetera, et cetera? Will the Bills continue to grow as favorites as 8.5? Will the Ravens continue to grow as favorites at 9.5? There's so much to break down for only a handful of games realistically between now and next weekend. But of course, stay tuned for all of that information right here on Sports Grid. We are about to end the show right now, but it has been a fantastic NFL regular season, and the playoffs are here. It is absolutely set. Going to be a great time. We'll, of course, see you across the Sports Grid network. See you guys later.